Hello, everyone. I'm Sientir, and welcome to VOD of Consciousness. And today, I want to talk a little bit about some stuff in Leviticus, and we are also over here in the House Zuhelzer, because there is a place that I need to get to that leads from here. So, just as a general principle, I'm very tired of Leviticus being used as a way to bash people. I don't think that's an appropriate use of it. And furthermore, if you're going so there's arguments that I might discuss at a future point in time about why Christians shouldn't be looking to the law and Leviticus and all of that for behavioral codes or whatever. But that's not what I'm going to talk about here. What I'm going to talk about here is consistency. So if you're going to try to use Leviticus to bash people, particularly Leviticus 19 and 20, those two chapters of stuff that's used to condemn homosexuals, then perhaps you should also consider what's instructed in the rest of Leviticus, even Leviticus 19. So right here I have two sections out of it. The first one talks about a command basically to provide a form of a welfare system. So people who had land were instructed to not don't harvest every last bit that you can, but rather leave some to be harvested by people who have nothing, right? The poor and the foreigner. And then the second one is an instruction to treat the foreigner well. Now, this is one of those things that's kind of not talked about a whole lot in terms of Levitical commands. For whatever reason, perhaps people would rather not think about them. I don't know. And I certainly don't want to accuse all Christians everywhere of being rather cruel towards foreigners and all of that, or being anti-welfare or any of those sorts of things. I do note that this is a system of allowing a resource for people to take advantage of, and it doesn't command you to go out and harvest those and give them away. But rather to make them available and to not harvest. That way people can come and collect the scraps, which is something that I think is important to note as kind of a nuance. But nonetheless, it's important to be aware of what sort of stuff is talked about there. And there, of course, can be further arguments about whether or not individual people should be involved in taking care of people versus the state, but that's another argument in and of itself. But this is a form of a welfare system, so I think that's kind of interesting that it's set up. So it's a way for people to get food that may not have had access to others. Do I have the melodic gaki? I do. Okay. So that means while I'm here, I want to take down the melodic gaki over there, because on my path. And like I said, the other one is just the Israelites were instructed to treat foreigners well because they were foreigners in the land of Egypt, it says there. And I think it's important to recognize that God cares about all people everywhere. And there is... I kind of want to do a full ramble on it, but I haven't really had the courage, I suppose you could say. There is, I think, a rather nasty strain of heresy, and I'm going to call it heresy in sort of the traditional sense of incorrect teachings, that I think has kind of cropped up in sort of cultural Christianity, of thinking of... no, I should have brought a signal capture for this guy. Oh well. Of thinking of the what's the right phrase here? The nation of a Christian nation, just the idea of a Christian nation. Like, it's an old concept, but it's not one that makes a lot of sense, just from what Christianity is. But that kind of extends to, I think, somewhat how people address things with the United States and all of that sort of thing. And I disagree with it. On principle. The United States isn't a Christian nation. It's a, strictly speaking, sort of secular nation, because the Founding Fathers had seen what happens when the state gets involved in religion, and it ain't good. So, anyway. trying to make a Christian nation, like I said, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the reason why I kind of bring that up is, in part, Leviticus is all about how the nation of Israel was supposed to be ruled and governed and directed, and is not necessarily pertinent to anything else today in terms of, like, there's stuff that's good to see the ideas of what God wants for a nation, but there's a lot of stuff that's specific to Israel and the time that it was existing in that I think we have to be very careful to not add to it, I guess, what we have it now. So it's kind of the caution that I'd have. Christianity is not Judaism, so we have to remember that the Jewish law is not binding. It talks about that in Acts 15, so maybe I'll talk about that next time. But I think I want to go this way. Oh, we're getting ambushed by some Oni. Good ol' Oni. Good ol' annoying Oni. You'll notice that they're level 28, which is substantially higher than the player cap, which makes them a bit more dangerous. Not as much more dangerous as you'd think. Levels, the effective levels is not as pronounced in this game as in some games. So. Yeah, I got that guy with my interrupty, or my daze inflicting skill. I'm wondering if I should acquire some bow-related skills on this character. Oh, also, one thing that's really annoying about this, I should take that off. I am sorry, I've been leaving those up for an incredibly long period of time. I think I've made my point with them. I just was kind of caught up in playing. Go figure. Now I don't remember what I had been saying, but that's okay. Okay. That warden's taken care of. Let's take care of this guy. There's actually, I was wanting to elaborate some. I brought up like cursing and cussing and swearing and all of that sort of stuff last time. And oh, I know what I was saying. There's the enemies in this area make all of these nature spirits that the AI can't pass up killing. Kind of annoying. But anyway, so I kind of wanted to elaborate a little bit on that, just because I feel that there's room to elaborate on what I meant with some of that. Cursing specifically is wishing someone ill, wishing harm on someone. So the most common sort of curse that I think you hear somebody utter is to ask God to damn something, usually in a 3-word phrase. But that's, I think, something that people don't even think about, but that's a curse. Asking a curse to be visited, as it were, upon whatever you're asking God to damn. And like, typically in the phraseology of like God damn it, where it is the thing that you're asking God to damn. I don't personally like the phrase because I don't think it's good to curse things, but that is a curse. So I wanted to be clear about that and kind of clear that up. Whereas something like an FU I think of as probably more of a cuss. I'm not sure. It could be a curse if people are meaning ill by it versus just like something else. I'm not necessarily an expert on the matter. Swearing tends to, I don't think people tend to use it in this sort of, what is it, pejorative sense? Something like that. But, yeah. Anyway. So I wanted to talk about that for a moment longer. Just, I think it's useful to kind of clear stuff up a little bit. There's a boss that I want to get here in Melandru's Hope that has what is it? Not that one. I want to go with that one later. No, that one I also want to go after later. I'm just looking at bosses that I want to capture stuff off of, and okay, I closed the page. So this is Empathic Removal, which is a very, very useful skill. And is gotten off of Bizarre Wingmender, which is, okay, it's just up here and towards the left. Okay, that's easy enough to get to. Let's look. How's our time doing? Oh, we're about 10 minutes, so we've got plenty of time to go capture this. This skill is super, super close, so. Alright, now we're going to go over this way, and I'm going to change my cadence of speaking a little bit, just for fun. Trying to mimic sort of that, I don't know, Bob Rossian style, or something like that. Might as well have a little bit of fun with what we're doing here, right? Yeah, you can see the boss is just over there, so not very far away. I always like to hold down Control and Alt to bring those things up, but I also don't like to have them on by default, which is weird. You might have noticed that there are more enemies there. They're technically stealthed, but the game shows them early for some reason. I don't know. Oh, hi, Mantis enemy. I guess you're here too. Let's throw that on it. This is gonna help. If the day's stuck. It probably didn't stick, actually. There we go. Got the boss. That's the important part. Significant capture, empathic removal. Now I can empathic removal Elias or something. It's a useful skill, though, because it's non-attribute and just has a lot of utility in it. It removes a condition and a hex and heals for 50, you and target other ally. So that is just super, super versatile. It's not like a healing skill so much, like 50 health is a little bit of a bonus. It's more for removing a condition, a hex, and being only 5 energy and not requiring any attributes. So that's a pretty solid bundle of things. So there's some other stuff. Let's see, I can go over that way. There's an important town over there. Isn't there more in Melandru's Hope? I'm gonna go ahead and look at our wiki real quickly here. Melandru's Hope. Is this? Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Does this have a? Okay, so that's a bunch of. Oh, okay. Wait. Okay, so that's from the Gardas Conservatory. So we can go up to the Jade Flats by continuing along this way. There's a ritualist boss called Chicker Brightclaw that's apparently along the path. We might as well continue on and get to the Jade Flats. Because we have time. Might as well use it. Let's see. There's other stuff that I had on my list of things to talk about that I might look at while we're wandering. Oh yeah, universal basic income. I am a fan of universal basic income. I don't know. There needs to be more data from studies long term, but it just kind of like long term makes sense to me. But there's a lot of cultural stuff that kind of needs to be addressed, I suppose is the right phrase, to really make it work. There's some advantages. For example, it means that companies, like, by providing people enough of a social support, and to be clear, the sort of UBI that I'm in support of is kind of a minimalist one. That is one to kind of keep people above the poverty threshold. So, like, USD 1,000 a month current rates or whatever. Probably has to be set, the specific amount, a little bit regionally. This is... Okay, we can come down this way. And just because different regions have different costs. Rather not fight Chicker, Locust Lord, if I don't have to. Assassin boss is going to be dangerous. But anyway, as I was trying to say, having that sort of social buffer, while not like amazing, I guess, is enough that it potentially allows people to kind of have a minimum quality of job, because they can always, as it were, quit and go to a job that cares about them, or basically like quit. I think it also has the potential to support entrepreneurship. Okay, we need to focus down these casters. There is definitely some concern about downsides, but honestly, like, you put it low enough and people's quality of life isn't high enough from it. It's interesting. I have thought some, because of course one of the things you have to do is make sure you don't cause problems with inflation. And so funding for universal basic income is of course a concern. And that's kind of where you have to worry about how you're managing the economy. Wow, I just got a bunch of stuff, whatever. Let's see. And then a mantis dreamweaver over here. Well, we're just fighting all of the bugs, aren't we? Okay, well that was not what I was intending to do, but okay. We just did it. I think I need to get up over here somewhere to get where I'm trying to go. Skill hungry Jackie. But yeah, so it's just like, it's one of those things where the idea makes a lot of sense to me, and I feel that there's kind of a as automation takes over, there's a problem that you run into with making sure you have enough jobs for everyone becomes a bit challenging, just from a technical standpoint, right? Automation effectively consumes jobs. And how you deal with that is there's different options, I suppose you could say, for dealing with the consuming of jobs. And there's for example, finding ways of encouraging companies to hire more people for overall less hours while maintaining like overall levels of income. Where is this zone I'm trying to get to? Did I close it? I think I might have closed it. Well, that's unfortunate. It indicates there's... You know what? I think I have... Jade Quarry... Need this one. Okay, so it's just over there. How do we get over there, though? Sorry, I'm kind of lost. So at this point, I've kind of gone on long enough at in this one that I'm going to go ahead and call this one here, and we will find our way to this zone next time. And I am just being surrounded by all sorts of minions, aren't I? So take care, everyone. Until next time, goodbye.